Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today we are going to do a full wrap up of my most anticipated books that were released in 2022, and we're going to talk about everything. So I have already posted the first half of the year and what I read in the first half of the year, so I'll leave that video link down below. I did upload that over the summer, so I go into more detail about what I read and my thoughts on those books. But today I'm going to talk about the ones that I did read in the second half of the year. It's not many at all. And then we'll go through the entire year after that and talk about what I did not read / my status on them. Do I own them? What format do I own them in? Do I still want to read them? Like all that kind of stuff. We'll go through all that as well. So if you want to see what I did for sure read in the first half of the year, I'll leave that video link down below. So go and check that out. And then, because I'm not going to talk in detail about those, but we're going to talk about what I did read for the second half of the year, and then we'll go through all the other ones for everything. Okay, second half of the year. I had 20 books I was anticipating. 20. I read 2 of them. 2. I loved both of them. But only 2. I only read 2 of them. So one of those was Daisy Darker by Alice Feeney. This was a complete 5-star. I absolutely loved it. It is a isolated mystery thriller book that takes place at this house that is on an island that is completely secluded. When the tide comes in, you cannot physically leave the island. And when the tide is out, you can, because there's a causeway you can walk across. But we have a family who goes to celebrate their Nana's 80th birthday, and they are planning to stay the night because they're not going to be able to leave at a certain point, and they know that. So they're all planning to stay the night. It's kind of like a family reunion type thing. However, when they are incapable of leaving, someone dies. And then someone else dies. And then someone else dies. You guys, it's fantastic. So people are being killed. Nobody knows who or why or what's going on. It's obviously someone in their family because they're the only people at this house. It's great. So loved it. 5 stars. And the other one is one of the best books I've ever read, and that is The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. I have not shut up about this book, but I absolutely loved it. This follows a woman who is going back to her college hometown in order to try to investigate the death of one of her college best friends, because it's being passed off as suicide, but she is not buying that at all. She does not believe that this was suicide. She believes that she was killed. So she is going back to try to figure things out. She's facing her past, which involves a sex cult. You guys, it was so good. It was so good. She is she's having to immerse herself back into this world. And oh man, you guys, so good. A ton of content warnings in here, so make sure you check those out before going into this one, because it is a very, very dark book, but it is one of the best books I've ever read. Okay, so that was it for what I read of my most anticipated books for the last half of the year. July through December, that was it. Whoops. Okay, I did much better the first half. I will say that. So we're going to go through the entire year again. I'm going to go month by month, and I'm going to focus on the books that I did not get to and show you what my status is on them. So for the month of January, I had 4 anticipated reads. I did read 3 of them, and the only one that I did not read was Echoes and Empires. This is by Morgan Rhodes. So this is the first book in a duology, and it is young adult. It is a fantasy, and it's following this young girl who lives in this world where magic is illegal. Obviously forbidden, and it's also very dangerous. So like you can get in a lot of trouble if you're caught using magic. However, our protagonist here learns that the magic that she can use is something that her kingdom discovers that they really want to get a hold of and that they want to be able to use. She is able to travel into the memories of an evil warlock. So she is able to kind of be a spy, if you will, on the enemy. And so the kingdom is putting pressure on her to use that and to kind of use her as a spy that way. But it's having really bad implications on her because that's not a good place to be. And so it's very trying for her. So she's trying to figure out how she can get out of this, right? That's all I really know about it. I did not read it, obviously, and I do have it on my Kindle, though. I have it from NetGalley. I am definitely interested in reading more Morgan Rhodes. I did read the first book in the Fallen Kingdom series, and I do want to finish that series. I just haven't yet, but I do want to read this eventually, but I do have it on NetGalley when I'm ready for it. February, I also had 4, and I only read 1. So I have 3 books that came out in February that I was anticipating that I did not read. The first one is I Will Betray You by Ruta Sepetys. I got this from Book of the Month, and it's sitting here waiting for me, just waiting. I will get to it eventually. Ruta Sepetys is definitely an author that I absolutely love, and I definitely want to read more from her. I just have loved the books that I've read from her so far, and I definitely want to read more. And this is, her newest release, so I would like to get to it. But so I have not read this one yet. So this is a historical fiction that is following a young boy living in Romania in the 1980s. And this is when their country is really under a dictatorship, and we're following him as he is kind of recruited into being a spy, and kind of the implications of that and how it's going to affect him and his family and all that kind of stuff. I've heard really, really good things about it, so definitely want to read it. Okay, the next one that came out is Ecstasia. This is by Claire Legrand. I just purchased this off of Pango, so I got me a good copy of it. And Claire Legrand is another author that I just absolutely love. I think I have 5-starred almost everything that I've read from her. There might have been a 4 here and there, but for the most part, I've absolutely loved her books. And this is one of her newer releases, obviously. And I love her writing, so they're a lot of fun. The synopsis on this is very vague, but from what I'm understanding, it's a young adult book about a young girl who is kind of considered a saint. And it goes through this whole ritual and everything. But I think more things start coming out, and she starts getting labeled as more of a witch than a saint. And so, I don't know. I don't really know a whole lot about it, but I definitely want to read it because I do love this author. And the other one that came out in February that I have not read yet is called This Might Hurt, and this is by Stephanie Roble. I have read a book by her that I really enjoyed, and so when this one was coming out, I requested it on NetGalley, and I definitely downloaded it as soon as I was approved, and I haven't read it. It's fine. This one, I believe, follows 2 sisters. One of them is having a really hard time in her life, and she decides to go on this year-long retreat. However, after she leaves, she is going to be cut off from the world completely, from the outside world, no contact or anything. And so the sister who's left behind is very uncomfortable with this and goes in to do some research on this retreat company and finds out some things she's not very comfortable with. So she goes to try to find her sister. And I think it kind of goes from there. So, we'll see. I haven't picked it up, but I do have it on NetGalley, so it's on my Kindle waiting for me. Okay, so for the month of March, there were 6 books that came out in March that I was excited about, and I did read 4 of them. So that's pretty good, but I do have 2 that I haven't read yet. The first one I got as a physical ARC from the publisher, and that is Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey. This is the sequel to It Happened One Summer, which I did read and really enjoyed. And so when I got this one, I was really excited. I just haven't read it yet. I had plans. I had it on a couple TBRs and then just never picked it up. So, but it's still sitting there. Still very excited to read this. I've heard really good things about this one in particular. So hopefully I can get to this one sooner rather than later. So like I said, this is a sequel to It Happened One Summer, where we are following 2 sisters who go to their father's hometown after he has passed away. And this is like kind of following one of the sisters after the occurrences in the first book and her romance that she gets involved in here. So I've heard really good things about it, and I'm excited. The other one is The Night Shift by Alex Finley. Okay, so this is a mystery thriller, and it is following kind of, I think it's like a copycat thing where something happened in the early 90s at a Blockbuster where someone walked in and killed everybody in the store except for one person. I think there is one survivor. And I think that crime was recreated years later, but at an ice cream shop instead. And so it's a whole bunch of people from the past, like who were involved in that or who, were directly affected by it coming together to try to figure out what's going on now. So I definitely want to read Alex Finley. I have not read any of his books yet, but his new release coming out next year is on my list of anticipated reads. So, I need to read something. But I did get a finished copy of this from the publisher as well. Okay, month of April, there were 2 books I was anticipating and I did not read either one. Winning. All right, first one is Fool Me Once by Ashley Winstead. This is a contemporary romance book by her. Okay. I still want to read it. Here's my thing, though. I'm nervous about this one because I have heard it's very heavy on the politics. I've heard it's very heavy on the left side of politics, which whatever. Have your opinions. That's fine. Have your beliefs. That's fine. I just have a really bad feeling this is going to be nothing but the left attacking the right. And I can't stand that either way. I don't like attacking, period. We should not be attacking each other. We should be working together. So I'm nervous about this one because I have heard it goes very heavy on that. And I'm nervous. I still want to read it because I want to give everything that she writes a chance. So this might be something where I give this a shot and see what I think, but going into it knowing that maybe I could handle it a little bit better. Maybe I'll be a little bit more prepared for it. So maybe that will help it out a little bit. But she is writing a sequel to this one. So I would like to read this so that I know whether or not I would want the sequel. And if this isn't for me, then that's okay. I'll stick with her thrillers and that can be what it is. But I did buy it. Like I went to Barnes & Noble and I bought this when it came out. So I definitely want to give it a shot and see what I think. And if this one isn't for me, then that's just going to be okay. And I'll just have to stick with her thrillers from here on out. And then I'll know at least. But yeah, so we'll see. And then the other one is Hotel Magnifique. This is by Emily J. Taylor. And this one I have on my Kindle from NetGalley. I requested it and got approved. So this one is a young adult fantasy, I believe, and it is following a hotel that literally travels, like the hotel physically travels different places and takes the guests with them. And so we follow 2 sisters who end up getting jobs there, and they are finding out that there are things about this hotel that are not quite on the up and up. And it's actually a very dangerous place to be. So I haven't heard much about this upon release. I haven't heard a lot of people like reading it and reviewing it. I've seen people hauling it. It's beautiful. It is absolutely stunning, but I haven't really heard anyone reading it yet. So we'll see, but it is on my Kindle. Month of May, there were 6 books I was anticipating. Again, I read 4 of them. Pretty good. But there were 2 that I did not read. The first one is I Kissed Shara Wheeler. This is by Casey McQuiston. And I have read books by Casey McQuiston before. Well, I read 1 and it was good. I think I gave it 4 stars. I read One Last Stop, but that's it. I haven't read anything else. And I do have Red, White, and Royal Blue, which is probably their most popular book, I would say. So I still need to read that one. And definitely want to, but this is another one that I requested and got approved for. And this is a young adult book, and it is following a group of people, a group of students who end up coming together because this girl, Shara Wheeler, has disappeared and nobody knows what happened to her. They all have some sort of link to Shara some way or another. And so they are just trying to band together to try to figure out where she is, retrace her steps, all that kind of stuff. So, I haven't heard too much about this one either. I've seen a couple people read it. It's gotten fairly decent reviews, I think. So we'll just see, but it's on NetGalley for me. And then the other one is Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. Now, this is one that I do not have. I don't own it. I don't have it on NetGalley. Nothing. I don't have this book in my possession at all. But Christina Lauren, they are definitely authors that I absolutely just have a great time every time I read one of their books. And this would be no exception for me, I don't think. I just haven't physically purchased it yet, mainly because I have a lot of Christina Lauren books on my shelves that I also need to read. So, but this one I have heard takes a little bit of a different turn for them. They are normally just like fun, lighthearted romance, can get pretty steamy sometimes, things like that. But I've heard that this one is a little bit more on the serious side and involves a little bit more of a mystery. There's like a scavenger hunt almost element to it. So I've heard it's a little bit different, but I'm up for that. So I still want to read it, just I don't physically have it. Okay, June. There were 3 books that came out in June that I was very much anticipating, and I did not read any of them. It's fine. The first one is The Woman in the Library by Suvari Gentile. This one is surrounding people that are in the Boston Public Library, I believe, and they hear a distant scream. Someone has died in the library, and it quickly becomes apparent that somebody at that table is the killer. And the whole library is shut down. No one can go in or out until they figure out what's going on. But upon the conversations that are happening that you're reading about, somebody at that table has actually killed this woman. So I'm hearing mixed things about this one. And I'm hearing there's a lot more to it than people were expecting, and that it was written in a very different way. So we'll see. I still am interested in reading it. It's on my Kindle. I do have it from NetGalley, but yeah, so I'll get there eventually. Another one is The Beach Trap. This is by Ali Brady, and this is another one that I do have on NetGalley. And I want to read this one because it is set in Destin, which is my hometown. Basically, I live I'm from across the bridge from Destin, Florida. So this follows 2 girls who were best friends growing up. They were like inseparable for a long time. However, they find out that they are actually long lost stepsisters, and they never knew that. And the revelation of that, and I guess how that came about and things that happened, actually tore their relationship apart. And so they no longer are friends. But I believe they both take ownership of this beach house that was part of their family. And so they have to come together. They're kind of being forced together to take responsibility for it. They both have very different ideas on what to do with it. And so they're having to compromise and having to work together again. And I think it's just going to kind of go from there. But it sounds like a fun time and set in a place that I am obviously very familiar with. Then the other one is The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I have not read this one yet. Riley Sager is another author that I just want to read everything that he writes. I don't care. Do not yell at me that this is horrible. I don't care. I'm going to read it. It doesn't matter. This is not getting good reviews. I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to read it. It doesn't matter to me. I've just enjoyed his books. Even the books I've read from him, there's only been one so far that I just didn't really enjoy. I still enjoyed my reading experience of it. I still enjoyed the book. Like, I didn't like the way that it ended. I thought it could have gone in a much better way, but I didn't care. I still really enjoyed reading it. Like, I'm happy I read it. So this is probably going to be no different. But this one follows a woman who is having a very hard time publicly. She, I think, is somebody who's been in the spotlight, and she has a rough time. So it is suggested to her to go and kind of get away at this lake house. And so she goes to kind of regroup and, kind of get her life together, if you will. However, she discovers the people across the lake, and she starts spying on them and starts to get to know them through her wanderings. And then she is eventually definitely becomes a part of their life in a very certain way. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm going to read it. Don't tell me not to. I'm going to. So for the month of July, there were 2 books that I was anticipating. I did not read either one of them, and they're both sci-fi. So that's interesting. First one is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. This actually won the Book of the Year for Book of the Month. And that is where this copy is from. I was able to get it for free because I have the BFF status on Book of the Month. So you are able to get one of the Book of the Year finalists for free. And this was the one that I did not have that I was interested in. All the other ones that were finalists, I either already had them or I wasn't interested. And when this popped up as an option, I was like, yes. So I'm finally going to get it. I do have this on NetGalley as well. I did get it on NetGalley from the publishers before release. So I did have access to it already, but didn't read it. But then like, this is so gorgeous, you guys. It is so beautiful. The colors are just incredibly stunning. Like, the camera is not even doing it justice. It is a beautiful book. So I went ahead and got me a physical copy because it's gorgeous and I really hope to love it so that I can keep this on my shelves. But this is a science fiction book that I believe follows two people who are gamers and they end up creating this game together. And I think it's like the whole dynamic between their relationship. And I think it's kind of like an alternate reality type thing as well. Kind of like whether it's just the video game aspect or if it actually becomes, I have no idea. I've heard people reading and loving it, but I haven't heard why. And I haven't heard like full actual synopsis of it. So it's been interesting, but I mean, and it won the book of the year, which is voted on by Book of the Month users. So there's that. But yeah, I'm excited to get to this eventually. And the other sci-fi that came out in July is Upgrade by Blake Crouch. I love Blake Crouch. I don't care. I'm going to read this book. This is like a DNA type thing where it's discovered that you can actually get your DNA enhanced to make you bigger, better, stronger, all that good stuff. But I think someone takes that a little bit too far is what my guess is going to be. I'm very excited to read this. I love Blake Crouch. I love his writing. I've read multiple books from him and I'm going to read this one. Okay, the month of August. 9 books came out in August that I was anticipating. 9. That is huge. That is also when the 2 books that I did read came out. So I read 2 of them. And there are 7 that I didn't read. The first one is Husband Material. This is by Alexis Hall. This is the sequel to Boyfriend Material that I read and absolutely loved. Absolutely loved that book. And I definitely want to read the sequel. Am I hearing great things about the sequel? No. Do I care? No. I'm going to read it anyway, guys. I have heard the criticisms on this book and okay, that's fine. It's mostly about the main character and how he's handling things or not handling things very well. And some people felt it got a little bit repetitive and annoying. Okay, I get it. I still want to read it. I don't care. So this is one that I do not own at all. I listened to the first one and then I ended up getting a physical copy. It was sent to me very kindly. So I do have a physical copy of that one on my shelves for sure. So this one I'm trying to decide if I want to listen to it or if I want to just pick it up physically and read it. I haven't decided yet, but I know I want to get it at some point because I want the 2 together. So we'll see, but that's not one that I have immediate access to. It's not on my shelves. I don't have the audio yet. So I don't have it quite yet. The next one is Stay Awake by Megan Golden. I've heard really good things about this one, actually. This is a mystery thriller that is following a girl who wakes up. She has no memories of what has been happening to her. She has lost time in her life. I don't know how much time, but she doesn't have memories from that certain time. And so she ends up getting a cab back to her apartment. But when she gets there, it's no longer her apartment. She doesn't live there. Someone else is living there. And then she has something written on her hand that says, "Stay awake." That's all I know. That's all I want to know. I've heard some good feedback on it. I do have access to this on NetGalley, so it's waiting for me. And then there is The Drowned Woods by Emily Lloyd Jones. This is another author I want to read more from. I've read one of her books and I really liked it, so I'd like to read more. And I have 2 of them now, including this one, which is on my Kindle from NetGalley. Okay, so this one is a fantasy, and this follows a girl who serves the prince, and he uses her for her powers. Not quite sure what those powers are, but he uses her for them, and he uses them in a bad way. So she runs because she does not agree with what he is doing with the results of her using her magic. And so she runs, and then she ends up running into somebody who I believe was like either her mentor or her trainer or something like that. And he also ran from the prince, but they decide that they need to band together to take down this prince together. So it's going to be kind of like a taking down the bad guy type thing. So I definitely want to read more from her for sure. And this one is sitting on NetGalley waiting for me. The next one is Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. Haven't read this one yet either. This is another book that is about a woman in STEM and kind of her love story and all that kind of stuff. So I have heard that Ali Hazelwood definitely has a pattern, maybe a little bit of a formula type thing. So I guess we'll see. I did really, really enjoy The Love Hypothesis. So I definitely do want to pick this up and I do want to read more from her. So we'll see. But I did get this from Book of the Month. I also have it on NetGalley. But I have two options there. I could read it on my Kindle or here. I'll probably read it physically since I do have it. But yeah, so I have it. And the next one is Girl Forgotten by Karen Slaughter. Not only do I have this physically, but I got to meet her. I went to an event with her and got it personalized and signed. And she was lovely and hilarious. Like, I want to be her best friend. So this is actually a sequel to Pieces of Her. So we are following the same main character, obviously years later. And that's all I know. I don't want to go into it because it's been a long time since I read Pieces of Her. I don't feel like I would need to reread that, but I probably need to just find a really good summary to kind of refresh my brain a little bit. But yeah, I definitely obviously still want to read this, and it's Karen Slaughter and I love her. And I've heard really good things about this one. So eventually we'll see. Okay, and the next one. Oh, Amari and the Great Game by B.B. Alston. This is book number 2 in the Amari and the Night Brothers series. And I think it's called Supernatural Investigations. But I found this signed edition at my local bookstore. And so I picked it up and haven't read it yet. And this is what I was really waiting for because this publication got pushed back a little bit just later on in the year. I think it was supposed to originally come out in March and then it didn't come out until August. It got pushed back a couple times. So it finally came out and I finally got it. And it's sitting here and I haven't read it. But I really want to because I love the first book so much. And I definitely want to get back to these characters and what's going to happen and all the things. And gosh, you guys, these books are so stunning. But yeah. And the last one for the month of August is Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid, another favorite author. I want to read everything that this woman writes, and this is her newest release, and I haven't read it yet. It's very shiny, as you can see. Carrie Soto is a character from Malibu Rising. She is one of the side characters in that book, and so this is kind of her story. This is following her, and she is a professional tennis player. So there's a lot about tennis in here, which that's fine. I don't know that much about tennis, but maybe I could learn something. That's totally cool. But I'm definitely excited to read this one. Okay, month of September, 2 books came out, and they're doozies, you guys. And I haven't read either one, but they are doozies. The first one is Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I just picked this up at work because it went on sale on Black Friday for half off, so I got half off of this. I definitely want to read this. And guys, I can feel like this thing is so textured. There's bricks right here. They feel like bricks. Like they don't feel like bricks, but you know what I mean? Like I can feel the texture. I love it. It's so cool. This is a portal fantasy by Stephen King that transports a young boy and his dog to a actual fairy tale-esque type of place. That's all I know. Hearing really great things. Super excited to read it. Haven't yet. But I'm excited that I have it on my shelves because I definitely wanted it like in hardcover on my shelves and I have that now. So when I get to it, we'll see, but very excited for it. And the last one for September, you guys. The Winners by Frederick Bachman. I pre-ordered this. This thing is ginormous. So this is the conclusion to the Beartown series. It's a trilogy. I want to reread Beartown. and Us Against You. I want to reread the first two books and then read this one. I kind of want it to be a whole experience. Beartown is definitely something I've been wanting to reread for a while. And like, this was really just kind of a good excuse to, finally do that. Of course, I didn't do it when it was coming out, but I will eventually. I do have to kind of prepare myself for it because it's going to be emotional. It's going to be hard, but I want that. I want that experience, and then to see how everything is going to wrap up. Apparently there's a lot to happen. But Frederick Bachman is another favorite author, and I will read this. I do want to reread the other two first, but yeah, it's going to happen. Okay, October, there were 3. The first one is Station Eternity. This is by Mur Lafferty. This I got from the publishers very kindly as a finished copy. This is a sci-fi book that follows a girl who kind of gets a reputation for being cursed. There's a lot of death that happens around her, and it's become like almost a joke that it's her. She's the one either causing them, or she's like a bad luck charm. So she wants to like get away from that stigma, and she gets the opportunity to do that by going to another planet and helping like to colonize this planet. So she's going to take that offer so she can kind of get away from the people who are, making her life miserable. So she uses this as an opportunity to kind of start fresh. However, the death follows her, and now she's wondering if maybe it is her. So, we'll see. I haven't really heard anything about this book, but I'm definitely excited for it, and I definitely want to read more sci-fi next year. So this will definitely be on my list. Okay, the next one is The Hollow Kind. This is by Andy Davidson, and I pre-ordered this one as well. This I heard about from a friend of mine, who has like kind of a friend of a friend of a friend connection to this author. And she was telling us about it. And I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting. So I looked it up, and then I pre-ordered it immediately. So this is I think it's considered more of a horror book. And it is following a woman and her son who leave an abusive relationship. And they end up being able to go and inherit this farmhouse that she was left. And so she's looking at that as a fresh start. However, when they get there, it's really run down and really almost unlivable. So she says, challenge accepted, and she's going to fix it up and do all these things and really use it as like kind of a starting over point. However, there's some weird things that happen in this house, and the son is really noticing it. So I think it's more him experiencing a whole lot of things that are unexplainable. So I'm thinking it might be like a haunting type thing. Very interesting. So yeah, and I love this cover. It's fantastic. So I'll read it eventually. Okay, another one that is going to be a reread situation. It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. I know I haven't read it because I want to reread It Ends With Us first and then go into this one. It Ends With Us has been my favorite Colleen book. Like the second I read it, it has been my favorite. And everything I've read since then has not knocked that off the pedestal for me. So I want to reread it. I want to go through that experience again and then read this one. So I kind of want to do like a back-to-back thing if I can and kind of get all of it together. But It Ends With Us is definitely one I've been wanting to reread anyway. And then when this was coming out again, like the winter is kind of a good excuse type thing. So I will get there. Okay, 2 came out in the month of November. The first one is another book by Alexis Hall. He had 2 books come out this year, and I wanted to read both of them. But this one is Paris Delincourt Takes the Cake. This is book number 2 in a Winner Bakes All series. So the first one I read last year, I believe, and I really loved it. It was so much fun. It's set on this reality baking show, very, very much like the Great British Baking Show type thing, which I love. I love that show. So it was following a contestant on that show. And this book number 2, I believe, follows the next season of characters. So it's almost like when you watch those shows, you get to know those people, and that's kind of what's happening here. So like book 1 was season 1, book 2 is season 2, like that type of thing. So lots of fun. Definitely want to read it still. It's gorgeous. And yeah, we'll see. We'll just see what this has in store. I'm not quite sure what it's going to be about, and I don't really care. It's just going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be adorable. Haven't decided if I'm going to listen to it or not. I did listen to the first one. I don't own this one or have access to it immediately. So I'm thinking I might listen to it because they really do have great narrators. So that might be the way that I end up going, but we'll see. But I definitely want to read it. And the next one is The Prisoner by B.A. Paris. Haven't read this one yet. This is one that I think I will enjoy from her. She has been a very interesting author for me. I absolutely loved one of her books, Behind Closed Doors. That is one of my all-time favorite thriller books. That still holds true today. The rest of her books, though, have not been all that great. And I think I 5-starred a couple of them, but I just, upon like further distance, I would definitely lower those, but it's fine. But I think based on the premise of this one, this one is going to be more like Behind Closed Doors than the other ones were. So I'm definitely thinking that this is going to be one that I really enjoy, and we'll see. I'm hearing good things about it, though. I have heard some good stuff about it. So yeah, it is sitting on my Kindle from NetGalley. That is how I plan to read it. So I'm going to give that one a try and see what I think about B.A. Paris moving forward. We'll see. Okay, and then 2 in December. So the first one is The Circus Train, and this is by Amita Parikh, I think is how you say her last name. I have this one on NetGalley as well, so I do have access to it. And this is a historical book about a girl, and she and her father are part of the circus, and there is a boy that comes to intern for her father, and they have a connection as well, but then they are all torn apart by war. So we'll see about this one. I'm kind of waiting to see about feedback. It was just kind of like that circus thing really got me like, ooh. So that's definitely a buzzword of mine. I love books that take place in circuses and carnivals and all that, but we'll see how this one goes. But I do have it from NetGalley. And then the last one is actually a book that is being re-released. It was out before, and then this author got pretty big, and now they are re-releasing this one in paperback to kind of push this one again. And I'm very happy about it. And that's because I really like this author. I read one book by him this year, and it's a favorite. And so I put this one on my list to kind of check out because I knew that it was being re-released. But that is My Darkest Prayer by S.A. Cosby. And I didn't have to do anything for this because Krista very kindly sent me this for our Christmas book exchange. She found this is the originally published one. And I want to say this might be indie published. Let me double check. Yeah, this is published by Intrigue Publishing, but I think he's been picked up by a bigger one now. But yeah, so Krista found this one, and I'm very, very excited to read it. It is pretty short, but I definitely want to read this author's works. And so this is one of them. Very excited to have this. Very excited that it was a gift, and this will definitely be happening soon. Okay, I feel like I've been talking a long time. Okay, let me give you totals for the whole year. Okay, I was anticipating for the entire year, there were 45 books. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's like half of my reading every year. And of those 45, how many did I actually read? 14. That's not great. That's not great at all. Yeah, 14 out of 48 I read. So like, yeah, no. Not even half. No, just, yeah. All right. It's fine. And I have a lot of them. I have most of them, whether I have them physically or on my Kindle from NetGalley. Some of them I have both, but yeah, it's a lot. That's fine. So how did I do? Not great, but it's okay. It's all right. But I have them, so I can pick them up whenever I want to. So, that's a win, definitely. A lot of them were Book of the Month options, which was really nice. Some of them were sent to me from the publishers, which was very nice. And then the other ones I have on NetGalley. And then there's a few that I don't have access to quite yet, but I'll get there eventually, so it's not a big deal. Okay. That's how I did. Hopefully next year I can do better. I definitely want to do better next year at reading my most anticipated reads. Definitely, definitely. So when I'm getting early copies of books, whether it's NetGalley or publisher sent, I'm trying to make a note of the ones that I'm most anticipating and try to actually make sure I read those, definitely, because they're sent my way for a reason, and I can help promote them and stuff. And I prefer to do that when I've already read the book and I can actually tell you my thoughts on them. Okay, let me know down below. Were any of these anticipated reads for you? Did you read any of my anticipated reads? Let me know all that down below. And again, if you want to hear how I felt about the books that came out the first half of the year that I did read, I will leave my wrap up of that down below. And yeah, all right. So here's hoping next year will be more successful in this project. Okay, I will talk to you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.